Hello, I'm Janine Nodder, and this is Chatting with Janine, but the guest is another Merrimack TV host, Darren Roy, who's a young entrepreneur. So welcome, Darren.
How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
How do you like sitting on that side of the stage?
It's a little less stressful, like I can just be nonchalant and relax and not be worried about having to say things. So it's nice. It's
So
great.
you're a young entrepreneur. How young are you?
So I'm 31. When I started, I was about 21. So I've been working for myself for about 10 years now.
And what do you do?
So I own a event production company, and basically what we do is we provide lighting, sound, and music for corporate and private events. And then the DJing side of the business kind of took off years ago, and that's kind of been the primary focus. And I do over 100 events a year, and all across New England. And it's been a great journey the last couple of years.
What do people call you, DJ Roy?
Just my name with the DJ in front of it. Like I never did a weird name or a special name. I just kept it my name. And
Is your business here in Merrimack?
Yes.
And is it on DW Highway?
I mean we don't have a location, but yeah, I go all across New England, and basically I started right out of high school. Really, went to college for a semester and didn't like it at all. So I did about 6 months, and then my parents told me, well, either if you're not going to college, you're working. So I worked with my family for a while, and then out of high school, I would do these under 21 parties in Manchester. So kids would go on Sundays, and it'd be a spot for high schoolers to go have fun and stuff like that. And I was always a social person and wanted to get involved, and so I became director of operations, which at that time I was 17, 18. So I thought that was a great big name. It meant nothing, but at the time it felt good, right? So started doing those parties, and then the kids that would attend would want a DJ for their high school dances. So that's kind of how all this started. Was I started doing high school dances, and I had a buddy that had sound, so I hired him, and the DJ that we brought from the party, I brought him. So it was, I believe, spring of 2015, where we would just go around to different high schools and throw dances.
Did you go to Merrimack High School?
I did, yeah.
Did you know any of my kids? You're 31. I have some older than 31 and two that are younger than 31.
Possibly, yeah. My brain is just, my memory is so bad. But so yeah, and then Merrimack called me to come. So 2 years out of high school, I did the homecoming at Merrimack for a couple of years. So it was fun. And then I kind of shifted into the corporate events. I knew that there was a better market for that. I didn't want to do bars and restaurants. So I started doing corporate events. And, the last 10 years, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of great companies.
And word of mouth, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends?
Yeah, that's kind of how it's gone. I always really cared about my product and what I gave to the customer, and I think that showed compared to others. If you put a little more effort, sometimes it really shows. So,
and you have no student debt.
Yeah, that was great. I think for the one semester it was $3,000-$4,000, and that got covered by loans and stuff like that I had. So yeah, the no student debt thing was great. Obviously, I had to spend some money to start the business. So but no.
Was it hard? Was it hard to do that, to start the business?
I mean, looking back at it now, hindsight 2020, I've made it look pretty easy, I guess. There's really no formula or path. I kind of just did it, and I honestly, looking back at it now, where I am now, it's crazy because, like I said, I had guidance obviously, but it was just diving in and doing it, and it kind of just worked. And
So all the events that you do you have any that like stand out for one reason or another?
well, so in recent, history, I've been able to work with a running company in Bedford called Millennium
Well,
Running.
running, yes, yeah. Very familiar with it.
So for the last, since 2016, I've been their DJ and their sound guy for all their events. So, I do 30 events a year with those guys, and great crew, great events. But the last couple of years, we've had the privilege of going to Boston for the Boston Run to Remember that happens Memorial Day. And so we actually just did that a couple of weeks ago, and it was 7,000 runners,
Wow.
which is pretty incredible.
I would be at the tail end if I were in it.
Me too, trust me. That's why I'm on the other side of the barricade,
Yes.
right? So I guess like if there's a couple highlights of the whole year, like that one definitely is. If you would have told me 10 years ago I would have DJed in front of 7,000 people, I would have said, how? There's no way.
Do people come up and give their requests for songs?
Yeah, well, so what's kind of cool is before being with those guys, I was never in the running community or anything. And over the years, there are a lot of runners that run the same races. So I've actually built like a little kind of cool little fan base with the runners, and they know me, I know them, and it's been kind of cool.
We probably know some of the same people.
Probably, yeah.
I know a lot. I used to run marathons, and I know a lot of people, and I know people at Millennium Running.
Yeah, so it's a great little community. I never, thought I'd be a part of it, but it's honestly a great group of people, and it's just fun. I feel like with what I provide and then their energy, it just makes it for a cool event. Very cool events. So yeah, so that one. I DJ the corporate 5K in Manchester every year. So, that's 5,000 right there. So, I get to be in front of a lot of eyeballs every year, which is kind of cool. Because when I first started out, I thought a crowd of 300 was massive, right? Like, and then I go and do these races, and the smallest race is 2,000 people. So,
do you know other DJs in the area? I know Keybar, and he's in Manchester.
Yeah. So like obviously the community is small, especially here in New Hampshire. If you've been in it long enough, you definitely know get to know guys. Unfortunately, fortunately, like for me, I've kind of always, I created my own atmosphere and my own little thing. So I don't get to collaborate with a lot of other guys that often.
So I'm curious to know how you get the music that you play.
Yeah.
Do you have to pay royalties to play music?
So it depends on the event, right? Like a lot of events I do, people already have that all. Like, that's not necessarily my thing. A lot of events I do, they have that all figured out. If I do my own event, then yes. But no, as far as music, just. If I'm doing like a race, I have a different playlist. If I'm doing a wedding, then obviously that's a collaboration with the bride and groom and myself. But then I also go and say, hey, listen, I've been doing this for 10 years. Here are some songs that I really know that work. I would suggest that we play these, and then we kind of, do a mixed playlist. But yeah, a lot of it is just. I tried out songs, and if I got a good reaction, then I kept it. So now.
What are some of the most popular songs that you play?
It's it's a lot of older songs. Like the "Shut Up and Dance."
Yeah.
That song.
Yeah, that's at all the parties. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, last couple of years, Taylor Swift is massive. So if you play anything Taylor Swift, "Hot to Go," that's a popular song. So what's funny is before DJing. I was like a country music guy solely. Like I knew other stuff just because.
Who are your favorite artists
for
country?
For country,
I like country as well.
Yeah, I'm a big '90s country guy. So anything Brooks and Dunn and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too. I love Brooks and Dunn, George Strait.
But then I also love the new guys, the Luke Bryans and the Luke Combs and all that stuff. So DJing really was great because it exposed me to all kinds of music. And now, in the last 10, 11 years, there hasn't been one genre that I haven't touched.
Well, when you sometimes, I don't know, I haven't been in a gym in a while, but in the gyms, sometimes they just play this awful music I can't stand. And I remember I used to go to the Planet Fitness over by Market Basket.
Sure.
And I'm looking around at the clientele, the people, I'm like, okay, I'm the youngest one here. And I don't like this music. I wonder what these people that are older than me, what they think of it. And I wanted to ask the managers, I'm like, do you ever think about the people that are in the gym and what they might want to hear?
Well, and that's something that I'm very conscientious about, really, is that a lot of the events I do are wide ranges of ages, right? So I could have 8 to 80,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you that, too.
So I guess that's something that I think I've
what would you play for the 80-year-olds?
Oh, gosh.
Glenn Miller?
Yeah, like the 40s, 50s, I guess.
Let's see. Sing. That song is
that's
great. Timeless.
Yeah, that's not like my, like I'm more like 80s up, because I'm 30. But, I'll definitely play it, So that's one thing that I've really tried to do is really make it, where everybody enjoys at least one song at some point, because obviously if you have a younger crowd, they're going to want to hear younger stuff, or, newer stuff. But, you
Journey, Don't Stop Believing. That song seems to be a timeless song.
So what's funny about that song is not so much the races, but any wedding, any event, that's usually my last song.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just because...
So my son, who's 28, so you may have seen him at the high school.
Sure.
Wesley. I told him when I was a freshman in high school, I remember the girls sitting on the bleachers all singing Don't Stop Believing, and he said, well, Mom, they still do.
Yeah. So usually for me, it's Sweet Caroline and Don't Stop Believing are like the last two.
Especially here.
Yeah, like I call it like my encore songs.
Bump, yeah.
So, and they do very well.
Did you do the DJing for the middle school too?
I don't think I have done anything at the middle school.
I just remember, I just had a memory of sitting in the parking lot waiting for my son, and I could remember hearing that song.
Well, and that's what's been kind of cool, over the last 10 years is that, obviously doing what I've been doing, it's cool that I've been able to do a lot of town events. So, I've teamed up with Matt at Parks and Rec.
Yep.
So I do like the Winter Carnival. We do a collaborative event with 4th of July, which is really cool at the high school. We'll be doing that again. And, the last couple of years, we've had some really good success doing that. I do the Christmas parade, the tree lighting. So I guess that's what's been cool is like I've been able to DJ many spots, but like I get to do 4 or 5 hometown events every year.
Oh, that's
and like that's cool, because obviously, being from Merrimack my whole life, you want to give back to the community and kind of have your presence, and that's what's been cool as well. And also, like even like you look at places like the Merrimack Forum, and when somebody ask for a DJ, a lot of times my name...
Oh, somebody did recently, right?
Yeah, so like a lot of times my name is the first one that comes up. So like that's kind of cool that you have people that advocate for you. And, for me, as we mentioned a couple minutes ago, word of mouth has been really great for me. And even today, like 90% of my business is word of mouth. And I do market a little bit just because you have to, but... a lot of the time somebody reaches out through somebody somehow, and that's how I get booked. And it's a privilege, honestly, because it could be the other way, right, where I'm searching for gigs a lot. And
I'm proud of you.
No, it's been something that when I first started, like I said, it's become way bigger than I ever thought. And what's kind of cool at this point is that I think it's going to get bigger, which is really cool. So it's I'm just trying to enjoy the ride as much as I can. Because I still believe that it could all go away tomorrow, right? Like the way that I built this was just very...
How about during COVID? Was that a problem?
Oh, of course. So I'll never forget it, March 19th. And the worst part, right, is so obviously winter is here in New Hampshire, it can be not so nice weather. So like back in the day, my winters were very slow, and now I have the privilege of DJing 12 months out of the year, which is great. But back in 2020, I had like a great January, a great February lined up, and like an even better March, and I was so excited. And then March 19th, I got, that was a day where I got, I think, like 35 cancellations. Mm-hmm. And like that was definitely,
terrible time for all of us.
Because obviously I had, every year that I've been doing this, I've had success in monetary, in amount of gigs. It's always gone up both ways. So I guess that year really humbled me, really, in the fact of, hey, listen, like, this could go away in an instant. Luckily, I did have money put away and stuff like that. So
I'm just wondering, I was trying to think, during COVID, maybe somebody could have a party because you'd be by yourself up on stage and then everybody's 6 feet apart dancing by themselves. You play Dancing with Myself.
Yeah. So I think that year I did 15 events, which is still great. I guess it's better than none. But yeah, a lot of them, were socially distanced stuff, and it was funny because that year you saw a little bit of everything, right? You saw people that social distance, and then you saw people that just did normal things, right?
I know that in my neighborhood, it was really, really hard on the kids. And my kids were older by then.
Sure.
My youngest was already in college. But after a few days, their kids were just so lonely. They said, we'd give up. And the kids were all playing together again. I'd go jogging with my neighbor, and I don't know that we were 6 feet apart, but we just felt like, we're outside.
Sure.
We just,
no, I think that was a learning year for everybody, right? Like, I don't think there's one person that came out of that not having a new perspective, and especially for me, and luckily, 2021, all the rescheduled stuff got booked into 2021. So not only was I doing 21 gigs, I was doing 20 gigs on top of it. So like that was a busy year.
Did a lot of people, like weddings, did they postpone their weddings?
Oh. Yeah. So, that was one thing that I was lucky to have, was that all the events from 20 got postponed to 21. So I got to do all of them. That was a very busy year because obviously you're doing double.
You were very smart to know to save money. Everybody should.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's not something that I always was good at, but the stars aligned, I guess, and it worked out, and and then ever since COVID, business has never been better. So,
good.
So it's
good for you.
So there was a good side of it, and then obviously I learned a lot, right? So if I could redo it, obviously I would do it so differently, just on how I reacted to it.
What's the name of your company?
So it's DAR Entertainment Services.
DAR?
Yeah, that's just my business name. I go by DJ Darren Roy. That's the main name of it.
DJ Roy?
DJ Darren Roy, yeah.
Darren Roy, okay.
Yes, yeah, it's just my name with DJ in front of it.
And what do you do on Merrimack TV? Tell me about your show.
So it was kind of, I was taught, because my family has a business and stuff, that, to always have your hand in a couple different things. Never, put all your eggs
Don't put all your eggs in
one basket, right? And on a marketing side, I went to college for 6 months for marketing, but I don't have like a true marketing background, but I figured I always had a sense of marketing myself and, kind of making myself look bigger than what I am. That's kind of what I always did in the beginning, at least, to make myself look more legit,
Well, maybe if I got platform shoes, I could do that.
So what happened was I would, kind of be in this scenario, and I just always thought that, like, hey, like, they do it this way, but I could do it my way, and that's kind of how I always think. So I was like, well, you know what? Like, I love hearing the behind the scenes of things. We see something as face value as what it is, but we don't know what goes on behind the scenes of it. So I was like, well, let's just name it Behind the Scenes with Darren Roy. And I started that 2 years ago, and it's it's not really a business. It's more of a passion project for me.
Yeah, well, there's no pay involved.
Yeah, I do it when I can, and but it's just another avenue of marketing myself. The last couple of years I've done merchandise, with my logo on it, and I've been blessed to sell some good merchandise. So I kind of have my hands in a couple of different things.
What do you do on your show? You just play music, or?
No, so on my show I basically just speak. I had a female that ran the Boston Marathon, so we talked about.
Oh, I know. Yeah, there's a lot of females in Merrimack that have done that.
So we talked about her journey from not running ever to doing the Boston Marathon. I had the owner and founder of Tucker's come on.
Oh,
and
cool.
that was cool because got to hear the story of when they first started in 2012. So that's what I've kind of angled my that show as, and it's honestly a lot of what I do. It's because I like it.
So it's like chatting, but chatting with Darren
instead
of Janine.
So a lot of what I do, is because I love it, and I just hope that other people love it too. That's kind of the hope, and
I know not everybody knows that any resident of Merrimack can have a show.
Which I think is great, by the way.
Yeah. And this is something I've said before on other shows, but every single person you meet has a story to tell.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, they all come from somewhere, somehow.
Which means anybody can have a show.
Yeah, which, I mean, for me, I didn't know that prior to doing it. And, I definitely think, and what's great is I think, if I could inspire young people like me to do it as well, I think that's great because, I feel like young people are looked upon a different way, So, if I can start this at 21, I kind of say if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's not a knock on me, but it's, it really is. Like, you can do it at any age, whether you're 21, 51, whatever. There's no right time to start things. Just, dive in and do it. I really believe in that 10,000 hour rule thing, where if you want to be good at it, you just got to do it. Back in the day, I would just do any gig possible just because I just...
To build your business.
Yeah, and that builds experience and, so...
Have you ever had equipment fall over and...
Not fall over, thankfully, but I've had I mean, it's electronics, right? So, you could do everything that you can to be perfect, and it could still go wrong. What I've learned over the last year is redundancy, right? So, a lot of what I do is redundant in the fact of if something goes down, something else can go up quickly. So,
have you ever had a storm come and ruin an event and have a power outage?
So actually, recently, I did a taco tour in Manchester.
Oh, that's right, taco tour. They did have some issues.
And I had my own area. It was great. I had merchandise set up. I was DJing. We had a good time, and then that storm blew in and just got everything soaked.
One of my sons, he had his family. They were ready to go. They get out the door and they went back in the house.
It was horrible. But that's just
all those tacos. So tough, sad.
It just that's the nature of the business, right? Sometimes you have good weather, sometimes you have bad weather. Just gotta do what you can to give the best result and the best product, and people will understand. That's just life. Sometimes it's not always perfect, but you do your best to do as good as you can.
We have about 2.5 minutes left. Do you have any new shows coming up?
Not right now. With the springtime, summertime, DJing being busy, that kind of takes their first priority.
Yeah.
Like I said.
I ask because I've been trying to boost small businesses.
Sure.
So you're one that's on the show.
Yeah.
I had the Old Boys Butcher Shop. I have Los Primos and Scott Delbeck who makes the maple syrup.
Sure.
So, and then I'd like to get TJ or SJ Torres
from Tomahawk.
Yeah, and different people on.
And the best way to find me is www.djdarrenroy.com. Also, all my social medias are DJ Darren Roy. I kept it all the same. So, I update my social medias on a weekly basis. So that's where people can find me. And then when I have time for the show, I'll do it, and there's a separate YouTube channel for that, and just trying to do what I can. That's all,
Well, I'm meeting you for the first time today, and I came into the studio with a blank paper, and we had no trouble finding things to chat about.
Sure.
So it was very nice
Thank
meeting
you.
you, Darren,
I
and
appreciate
best
it.
of luck with all you do.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.
All right.